Biden's North Korea strategy is a long way from Trump's showy diplomacy. U.S. President Joe Biden and South Korean President Yoon Suk-youl are greeted by a guard of honor as they gather at the state dinner at the National Museum of Korea in Seoul, South Korea, May 21, 2022. Seoul's CNN. President Joe Biden did not sound Saturday like he was expecting any love letters from Kim Jong-un. He can't even get a response to our offer of coronavirus vaccines as the helmet kingdom is hit by its first major COVID-19 outbreak. And during a news conference here Saturday, he did not sound particularly eager for a handshake with the North Korean despot. That would depend on whether he's sincere and whether he's serious, Biden said when asked whether he would be willing to meet Kim. The days of glitchy leader-to-leader summit and other photo ops that defined President Donald Trump's diplomatic forays with North Korea and elevated Kim appear over for now. So are the attempts at the grand bargain, everything for everything, denuclearization agreement. Instead, Biden administration officials are focused on what they call the calibrated, practical approach, seeking incremental progress toward denuclearization through sustained diplomatic engagement, and Kim once again isolated on the world stage and unable to grimp and grin with the U.S. president, appears poised to reach for a headline-grabbing intercontinental ballistic missile test while Biden is in the region instead. 1 year after the Biden administration completed a review of its North Korea policy, Biden's first trip to South Korea now puts him at the center of the still unproven new strategy. Even as the potential missile launch while Biden is in the region could ratchet up tensions, observers have also eyed a major coronavirus outbreak in North Korea as offering a potential, albeit narrow, diplomatic opening, if not with the U.S., then at least with South Korea. Testing Biden's response. Jake Sullivan, the U.S. National Security Advisor, has said the U.S. is unprepared for the possibility of a North Korean missile or nuclear test while Biden is in the region, and that the president could consequently adjust the U.S.'s military posture in the region. If something does occur, it will only serve to reinforce and highlights the fact that the United States is going to be engaged in the Indo-Pacific, is going to be a stalwart ally, and is going to stand up to and not shrink from any act of aggression, Sullivan told the reporters aboard a South Korea board Air Force One. To date, the president's strategy has yet to yield a single walking meeting with North Korea in the year since the administration completed a review of the U.S. policy toward the helmet kingdom, a senior administration officer said, adding that it has not been for lack of trying, and North Korea has also quickened the pace of its ballistic missile test, launching 15 this year so far. We are obviously concerned, the official said of the test, but we remain committed to our fundamental approach, which is we will do what we need to on security for us, for our allies, for our deployed forces. At the same time, we will continue enforcing the United Nations Security Council resolutions and arguing others and pressing others to do the same. But we will continue reaching out to the North and making clear that we seek diplomacy with them. We seek engagement. Unfortunately, up until now, I think we have to be honest about this. They have not been willing to, the senior officer added. The COVID in North Korea could be an opportunity for engagement. U.S. officials and North Korea experts opined the country's lack of diplomatic engagement with the U.S. and the other countries in part on the draconian coronavirus lockdown measures the Helmet Kingdom has had in place throughout Biden's time in office. But news earlier this month of North Korea's first major publicly acknowledged coronavirus outbreak has also stirred some hope of the potential opportunity for de-escalation. While U.S. officials do not believe the outbreak will hamper North Korea's ability to conduct a missile test, they have also watched carefully for signs it could accept South Korean or international help to combat the outbreak. The hope is that they will be more willing to engage on COVID-related humanitarian assistance, and that this could potentially serve as the means to throw a diplomatic track that's been frozen since the failed U.S.-North Korea summit in Hanoi, said Patricia Kim, David M. Rubenstein, fellow at the Brookings Institution. So I think there is a hope there. A senior administration official said the U.S. has previously told North Korea it's willing to engage in discussions about coronavirus relief aid, but has not had any direct outreach since their latest outbreak. Pyongyang has yet to respond to the new government in Seoul's offer of coronavirus assistance. A major shift from Trump's showman diplomacy. Trump's policy toward North Korea mirrored the erratic nature of his presidency, warned by then President Barack Obama in the Oval Office in 2016 that Pyongyang would present him his gravest national security threat. Trump adopted a bellicose approach to the North and its leader in the early days of his presidency. From his summer home in New Jersey, Trump threatened to rain the fire and fury on North Korea should its provocations continue. He bragged that his nuclear button was larger than Kim's, and during a speech at the United Nations, he referred to the dictator as a little rocket man, an insult he devised to reduce his foe to a caricature. Yet, as time went on, and in Trump's view, as his rhetoric drew Kim in, the policy swung hard in another direction. After a historic summit in Singapore, the first between the U.S. and North Korean leader, a man exchanged what Trump later called love letters. They met again in Hanoi, though those talks fell apart over differences in sanctions relief. The last time Trump visited Seoul as president, he journeyed to the North Korean demilitarized zone to meet Kim in person, stepping over the line of demarcation into North Korea. Biden, for his part, will forego a visit to the DMZ altogether, with officials saying he opted instead for the briefing at Osan Air Base, having already toured the DMZ as vice president. Trump's effort seems to prompt a pause in North Korean provocations, with a reduction in missile and nuclear tests, yet the substantively efforts to convince Kim to halt his nuclear program stalled and ultimately yielded no progress towards the ultimate goal of denuclearization. I think the Biden administration has tried to distinguish its North Korea policy by making the case that it's not interested in flashy summits or grand bargains, but that it wants to take a practical and calibrated approach to build towards the complete denuclearization of North Korea, said Patricia Kim. I think the hang-up, of course, is not so much US policy, but the fact that North Korea seems to have zero interest in talking about denuclearization, while Trump sought to cultivate Kim as the partner and the personal friend. He cast skepticism at the necessity of keeping US troops on the Korean Peninsula and levied steep tariffs on South Korean goods, steps that caused deep anxiety in Seoul and the broader region over American commitment to security. Biden has adopted a far more traditional approach. Welcome news in the countries he is visiting this week. There is clearly a sign of relief after Biden came to the region and talked about alliances in the language that allies understood. They just didn't understand, did not comprehend what Trump had been saying, said Victor Cha, the Korea chair of the Center for Strategic and International Studies in Washington.